destroyed hundreds of houses across this country, that caused us as a government to pause what we were doing in terms of our affordable housing program and focus on Hurricane Elsa and the freak storm and the few that happened with Hurricane Beryl, to be able to get houses done for people. Yes, there is need, but when an emergency arose, we had to deal with the emergency. And if memory serves me correctly, we would have repaired or replaced about 1,400 houses at over $100 and something million. Money that we could have otherwise put in affordable housing, we had to do because of emergency repairs for a hurricane. So we have to understand the context in which the Ministry of Housing was operating. But even although that is the case, let me go straight to why this matter is being rescinded and why we've come with a new resolution. And I want to be clear, and I want the people of this country to understand. We are not perfect. Perfection is for the divine. People will make mistakes. And this, from what I can see, was an administrative error. So what happened essentially, as I understand it, is that even although the debate was clear, and I was the person who in the debate I first identified the land, before I was the minister. We then did the acquisition when I was the minister. From the acquisition, we then did the vesting. But what happens when you come to do a vesting? The vesting is from the state to the National Housing Corporation. But what, as I understand, happened in this instance, National Housing Corporation was not mentioned in the vesting. And instead, it was mentioned the people who the acquisition was done for, Payne and Atkins. So the confusion came with, in the vesting, Payne and Atkins being mentioned, and not the state to allow the appropriate vesting to be done in the National Housing Corporation. And we could not go forward in that manner, because then when it came to actually conveying to the new people who would be taking over, that would be a question as to how it was appropriately acquired or appropriately vested. Because if the National Housing Corporation is not mentioned in the vesting, they cannot then sell on to the owners what technically could be considered not theirs. And that is all this is, Mr. Speaker, a simple matter to correct an administrative error that happened in the national, when the vesting was done and in the gazetting. But instead of understanding that it was a simple matter, instead of understanding it was a vesting, we got treated to all sorts of things about who get enriched and who ain't get enriched and all sorts of things, but I can deal with that later. So first, let me be clear. And what I think may have happened is when it came to the administrative side of things, the recording, they mixed up the land acquisition resolution with the vesting resolution. So the wrong resolution. I don't know for sure, but these things happen because otherwise, why would the names of the two people that the land was acquired from be in it in the first place? Because they wouldn't even be mentioned because it would be land already owned by the state. So we are here today to perfect this, to make sure that there is no ambiguity whatsoever, that nobody could be denied, and that our people could benefit. And I'm so happy when the minister said that by the end of January, those people who have who have been allotted or will be allotted those 16 units in sergeants would be able to benefit. This is important because when labor leads, Bajans succeed. When labor leads, Bajans succeed. And it is important because housing must be prioritized. I was also happy to hear the minister talk about rent-to-own, because a rent-to-own policy is important. It isn't every single person that could benefit from a mortgage. It isn't every single person that may not be the right age. Sometimes they have to come together with a second person to get a mortgage. And everybody doesn't want to do that. But yet still, they're paying rent that is more than what a mortgage would be. So if people are able to pay rent more than what a mortgage would be, well, doesn't it make sense, Mr. Speaker, that we should give them a rent-to-own opportunity? Of course it does. So we could empower people in this country so that they too can own a piece of the rock, so that they can have a house that not only they can house their family, that they have something that they could then accrue equity in and use that equity to leverage it to get something else. But it's basic. And nobody could deny that we have done a lot in housing across this country, and we want to endeavor to do more. But, Mr. Speaker, after what would otherwise be a normal 20, maybe hour, 2-hour debate, up gets the leader of the opposition, talks about how we should be embarrassed. Mr. Speaker, I would never be embarrassed about people in this country getting an opportunity to get houses. I would never, ever, ever be embarrassed about people in this country getting an opportunity that they can get an asset that they can bequeath to their offspring. I would never be embarrassed about what we have done as a government to lift this country. We continue to do a tremendous job to lift this country across Barbados. And we've done an excellent job about it. And we continue to do it each and every day. And I can speak to every single minister on this side and every single member of this parliament, except the opposition. We have the good intent for the people of this country. And we want to see the people of this country succeed, because their success is ours. But I want to say, Mr. Speaker, and the Honourable Leader of Opposition spoke in particular, and he spoke about Hope and the PV at Lancaster. I want to say that the Lancaster housing is to be subsidized by PV. And yes, we have not had enough PV, not from fault of trying, but because of the grid and the instability of the grid. And once we've rectified the issues of the instability of the grid, then we will see more photovoltaic systems on those houses by Hope at Lancaster, which will give an opportunity to get that revenue to pay down the infrastructure costs in the country. So I want to be clear. Hope has done a fantastic job. I want to be clear. There has been no infelicities as far as I am concerned with when the Honourable Member talks about corruption. And put something like that into the record. Absolute nonsense. And I want to be clear. The Honourable Member, and I can quote, Cabinet took up $60 million of taxpayers' money. Nothing could be further from the truth. Enrich private individuals. Absolute nonsense. Someone got rich. A bold-faced poppycock. I can't say a lie. Bold-faced poppycock untruth. Telling the people of Barbados. Where is the evidence? Where is the evidence that the Honourable Member laid? No, not a shred of evidence to back up what he was saying. But you know what, Mr. Speaker? I have evidence to the contrary. You hear what I'm saying? Mr. Speaker, I have evidence to the contrary. Let us first look, and this is already a document of the House. The audit of Hope by the Auditor General. You hear what I'm saying, Mr. Speaker? An independent person, audit of Hope by the Auditor General. Overall conclusion, and let's understand what it is. The Auditor General himself, overall conclusion. Overall, Hope Inc. has achieved modest returns on its programs. He did not say failure. He did not say that it was an absolute shame. He did not say anything about corruption or anything like that. He says, modest returns on its programs. As at December 2024, a 4-year span from inception of Hope, the entity indicated that it had completed 110 houses and a further 61 were under construction. Would have done all at Lancaster now. It would also have generated economic activity with expenditures of well over $60 million. So economic activity within the country for Hope, thereby providing employment for over 30 contractors and their staff, and providing business to a host of suppliers. Well, that is what Hope was supposed to do. And the Auditor General is a private and separate entity, and independent. He has no political matter to deal. And he says, modest returns. Talks about the benefits of employing the contractors. Talks about the benefits of employing the suppliers. Talks about the benefits of the houses. So from an overall point of view, Hope, has it been perfect? No. Has the special audit been done? Yes. Is there more work to do? Of course. But in his words, modest returns on its programs. But I can go further, Mr. Speaker, because unlike the honourable member who had no evidence whatsoever, I am going straight to evidence. And, all my life, Mr. Speaker, I have worked in evidence-based. Evidence-based as a scientist, and I'm going straight to evidence. So what is the evidence as it relates to the contract at Pool? Let's go straight there. Right. Right, where we are. Right. The contract at Pool. Was a contract signed at Pool for construction of houses? Yes, a contract was signed. But I want to make it clear, when the contract was signed, there was not, the cabinet didn't have any knowledge of that contract at the time. The board did a contract and ratified it after. And the most important part, because all of the thing he's saying about how the cabinet gave taxpayers money, not a cent was paid. I want to be clear, Mr. Speaker. Not 1 cent was paid on that contract. Look at here. B, Auditor General report again. The contract signed by the then chairman with the company was not in agreement with the original board decision. At the time of signature of the contract for 1,000 units, the board had only approved the purchase of 50 units. And it should, however, be noted that the board subsequently ratified the contract signed for the supply of the 1,000 units. But even although the contract was signed, they were signed without the funding backing the contract. So therefore, no money was paid. So for the Honourable Leader of the Opposition to get up and say that the cabinet took up money, that they enriched individuals, all of these things are nothing but poppycock. And Mr. Speaker, as a legal mind, you would know that if I can show very clearly that if the evidence has a section that is untrue, clearly all the rest cannot be relied upon and must be untrue also. Clearly, all the rest cannot be relied upon and must also be untruth and should be thrown out as it should be, because there was nothing in there that was true. This administration, Mr. Speaker, has tried time and again to be able to meet the needs of Barbadians. We have tried time and again to do and come up with all sorts of improved opportunities so that Barbadians can benefit across this country. And we cannot go against what the Auditor General has said. Not a cent spent. So his whole thesis of this 60 million and how it was wasted and it was this and it was that, absolutely false. What he should do, Mr. Speaker, is get up and go outside in the yard and make those allegations and see what happens. But instead, came in here and hide under the protection of the privilege of speaking in Parliament. Well, I invite him to go outside. You know, like how he goes outside and put aspersions on the Electoral and Boundaries Commission. I happened to be listening to something that they were keeping a lot of noise in my constituency in St. Matthias the other night. And all he could talk about is how that the Barbados Party can steal an election and the EBC is this and that. All sort of nonsense, keeping up people for no reason. They was happy to see him go along. They was clapping when he was leaving. And that's what it's about. Throw mud and see what stick. But that is not how we govern this country. We govern this country with facts. We govern this country with information. We do the best we can every single day because we intend to take this country forward. This country has never seen the type of construction that it's seeing now. That's because people have confidence in Barbados, and people have confidence in the Prime Minister, and people have confidence in the Barbados Labour Party. Long may it continue. Long may it continue, Mr. Speaker. And clearly from his presentation today, there is no confidence in the leader of the opposition. None whatsoever. So we will not be distracted. We will continue to do our job. We will continue to lead this country. And we will continue to show that we will manage to the best of our ability. With respect to the Housing Credit Fund, over $8 million between principal and interest has been repaid. This is information that has come from the governor of the central bank. So the Housing Credit Fund is being repaid. You know, and you have to get money to be able to, you know, it takes cash to care, Mr. Speaker. You would know this. So obviously we needed seed money to go and put in the roads, put in the piping, the water, the electricity, all those things. As the houses sell, you get the money, you put it back, and you go again. But that's how businesses operate. I was in business, well, I don't know. You know, people say I was in business from 8 years old because I was working from then. It's the only way I know how. Keep straight, have that laser focus, see what the goals and the objectives are, do not be distracted by the naysayers, and keep moving towards that goal of allowing and getting Bajans to succeed. That is the goal of the Barbados Labour Party. And I'm proud to be a member of this administration. I'm proud to have been here over the last 7 years, working hard to be able to uplift Bajans every single day. Mr. Speaker, I'm obliged.
All right, Member for St. Peter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I shall not be long, but I thought it, and still think it necessary, to share a few words on this resolution before the House, which is one, as the Honourable Member who piloted the bill, the resolution, the Honourable Member for St. Michael West indicated, and supported by the Honourable Member for Christchurch South. I speak, Mr. Speaker, Christchurch West, what is it? No. Sorry, I didn't mean to insult the last speaker. I really offer my profound apology. Defaming, I really would not want to call a decent person, I wouldn't want to mischaracterize anything about him. But Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Member for Christchurch South hears us very often speak to the fact that we do not consider ourselves to be perfect. Yet he, and is a little bit, or maybe a significantly, maybe a lot disingenuous, says to the country through this chamber that we feel we are perfect. Whenever the Honourable Member for St. Michael Northeast, the Honourable Prime Minister, speaks about the performance of government, she speaks to the fact that we are not perfect. I, from time to time, indicate in this space that I'm happy to be a member of a government, a party in government, that is willing to say, we made a mistake here, we fell down here, we're gonna fix it. And that is because a lot of our ethos comes from the Member of Parliament who preceded me in St. Peter. We are a face-it-and-fix-it party in government. That is what we do. Mr. Speaker, the Barbados Labour Party in opposition in government, wherever, is made up of human beings. None of us is extraterrestrial. None of us come from any planet other than Earth. We say from time to time that perfection is reserved for the divine. None of us is, and we have never claimed to be. So that coming to this honorable chamber to correct an error is something that we do as a matter of course, because our responsibility to the people of this country is to make sure that people can live, can have a decent standard of living, and that we can build the kind of platform that will allow for improvements in that standard of living. There's absolutely no reason why we should shy away from bringing housing solutions to the people who live in Christchurch West. Why would a decent government want to do that? And why would the leader of a party who wants to become prime minister believe that people who, working class people, who live in Sergeant's Village should not be able to get proper title? It annoys me because I am not an attorney. All the good attorneys I know say that title has to be clean. When I first heard that, I thought it meant that the paper didn't have to have all spots.
No honourable member, no honourable.
Right. I found out later that what they meant was that no encumbrances. And so if you have name issues, you got to clear them up. That is what this government is about. And I'm saying to you, Mr. Speaker, that we will not resile, whether it is just before an election or just after an election. Our track record has been very clear. We have come to this honorable chamber on numerous occasions to make sure that the people of this country can have to realize their dreams of owning a piece of the rock. And that is why things like transferring of title in units is so important for us. That is why improving the quality of those units is important for us. The Ministry of Housing and the National Housing Corporation, about maybe less than 6 months ago, held a meeting, a residents' meeting in Maynards. And in that meeting, they and with me as the Member of Parliament, we had the opportunity to speak to the residents of Jerusalem, the residents of Maynards housing area, because the idea was to update our residents as to where we are with respect to the wiring, transfer of title, and we had an excellent meeting. It is because the Ministry of Housing and the National Housing Corporation is doing a good job. They have a responsibility. They came to the people. They came to the people. They opened themselves up for whatever the questions were, all the hard questions. Those that could be answered immediately were answered. The officers gave their contact numbers. They said, okay, did this one talk to me, call me, or I'll call you tomorrow, because it was held a Sunday afternoon, out of respect for me. And that, again, I respect the organization. Ordinarily, they would have those meetings on Saturdays. They held it on Sunday so that I could attend. I see that as reflecting an organization that is sensitive to the needs of the residents, sensitive to the needs of the MPs, sensitive generally. Out of that meeting, we started work in Maynards housing area, on wells. There's also work, and I can tell you that up to maybe the week before Christmas, they were doing some power washing on the units in Maynards, and the residents there are happy with the work done so far. Now, they expect the work to continue. They don't expect that the honourable member for St. Michael West will take his foot off the gas, but they recognize that work is being done. I also have to say to you, Mr. Speaker, that the efficiency and effectiveness of the Ministry of Housing and the National Housing Corporation is also reflected in the fact that I was able to go to maybe almost all of the residents of Upper Rose Hill over the past week to update them as to where we are, where the Ministry of Housing is, where the National Housing Corporation is with respect to the transfer of title. About 40%, almost 50% of residents have already gone in. We know that the pensioners have a special dispensation, and those who have not yet gone in to start the process, I was able to encourage them to do it so that they can be in a position to get some of the rock, to be able to own a piece of the rock. The residents of Upper Rose Hill, just like the residents in Maynards, are happy about the work done by the National Housing Corporation and its parent ministry, the Ministry of Housing. These are people, Mr. Speaker, who I grew up with, who for many, many decades, and I am reaching the stage now where I don't want to call the number of decades, because it becomes embarrassing not to me, but maybe to my children. No, I'm not using those terms. But the people who have been living on these spots, in some cases for generations, are now seeing the light of day because of the work of the Ministry of Housing and the National Housing Corporation. And so I commend the work of that organization. It is not to be poo-pooed. The people in Maynards and the people in Upper Rose Hill are happy that we as a government recognize that a person's self-esteem sometimes depends on where they live and the conditions under which they live. People feel a sense of achievement when they can hold title deeds. And I will tell you, Mr. Speaker, I say that because I've heard it, but I also say it from personal experience. When I held title deeds in my hand for land that cost, back in those days, I think $30,000 or $40,000, I felt as though I was a zillionaire. Just holding the papers. So nervous, I told the lawyer, put them in the vault. Mr. Speaker, I didn't know what he would do if I had lost them or if something had happened and it got burnt up. I left them with the lawyer. They're probably still in GM Street at this point. I left them with the lawyer. Mr. Speaker, I also want to say that the people of Six Men's are tremendously happy with the progress that is being made by the Ministry of Housing and the National Housing Corporation. These are people who, from over 50 years now, have been in limbo with respect to tenure, land tenure, owning the land that they've been on for multiple generations. I am happy to report to this Honourable Chamber and to the country generally that the National Housing Corporation, under the Ministry of Housing, has surveyed, I believe at this point, close to half of the spots in Six Men's. I have the plan of all the spots that have been surveyed so far. They were good enough, kind enough to share that with me and with a residents representative who attended the meeting with me. They're almost halfway in surveying the lots. You know, these people, Mr. Speaker, are persons who were told by members of the Democratic Labour Party that they were all to be moved. The currency of the Democratic Labour Party is lies. Lies and innuendo. So you go from talking about corruption to talking about alleged corruption. Lies and innuendo. Now, for somebody like me who is, if not decent, at least half decent, those things annoy me. I did not come to politics, and I know many of my colleagues did not come. We didn't come to politics to play around. We knew it would be tough. But nobody comes to politics, nobody takes office to represent the people of the country, believing that every day you have to fight lies. And the currency of the Democratic Labour Party is a currency of lies and untruths. And that dirty, I almost said nasty, but I'm conscious of where I am, and I do not want to be accused of getting on like the member for Christchurch South. But the people of Six Mains, there was an attempt to mislead them. But I'm happy to say that the Ministry of Housing and the National Housing Corporation has surveyed almost half. They have gone from south to north. So from the northern boundary of Port Ferdinand, in what we refer to as the village, Six Mains Village, and they're going north. This government and the Ministry of Housing and the National Housing Corporation under Barbados Labour Party ministers have never referred to the people of Six Mains as squatters. There's a former member of Parliament for St. Lucie who, when he acted as Minister of Housing, dismissed the people of Six Mains as squatters when they were asking, how come Port Ferdinand can buy land and we can't buy land? This government, the Barbados Labour Party in office, Mr. Speaker, has made sure that we are in a position to start the process of transferring. Up until about 3 weeks before Christmas, 37 residents received their letters indicating to them that they can come in. All of these surveys have been done. The price that they have to pay for lots that might be 3,000 square feet, I think is about what, 1,400? I'm trying to remember. About 1,400 Barbados dollars. Mr. Speaker, to buy 2,500, 3,000, 3,500 square feet of land for that kind of money. And this is land where you walk, if you walk west for more than 2 minutes, you will drown. You'll be almost in the middle of the Caribbean Sea. This is land that in other places along the coast is referred to as the Platinum Coast. Ordinary people, those who refer to as ordinary people, working people, can't afford land so close to the sea anywhere else in Barbados except in Six Mains in St. Peter. That is the work of the Barbados Labour Party in government, making sure through the Ministry of Housing and the National Housing Corporation that Barbadians, working class Barbadians, are able to improve their lot in life. The Ministry of Housing and the National Housing Corporation is so sensitive to this matter that they have given the entire project a name. And that name, the Honourable Member for St. Michael West knows the name, he was in the meeting, the Six Mains Life Improvement Project. That speaks to the ethos of the Ministry of Housing under the Barbados Labour Party. It speaks to the ethos of the National Housing Corporation under this Barbados Labour Party. We are about improving the lives of Barbadians in this country. And so I am happy to say to this chamber and to the country, as we've shared with some in Six Mains, we have reached about halfway. We will continue going further north. I am thankful to the Honourable Member for Christchurch West Central. We have done a lot in terms of beautifying the community. We have a clean and green park on the northern side, just around Judge Gap, well, just south of what we refer to as Judge Gap. We have, just in the last 2 weeks, done a cleanup as well as a beautification, putting down some benches on the seaside, a place where people had dumped before. And I am also able to say that an improved garbage collection, because of how the houses are, there are some places that are too small for a garbage truck to get to. And the ministry responsible for the Sanitation Service Authority have indicated that they will be providing a smaller vehicle to be able to access those houses. We have said to the residents of Six Mains that in the few cases, because we recognize that there are not going to be many, in the few cases where we may need to rearrange a house so that they can be accessed by public service vehicles, we will do that on some of the lands that we think are available in the area. Residents of Six Mains will not have to leave Six Mains to have their lives improved. This Six Mains Life Improvement Project is an illustration of the kind of work that this Barbados Labour Party in government is doing on behalf of the ordinary working class people of this country. That is who we are. When Labour leads, Bajans succeed. When Labour leads, the people of Six Mains will succeed. When Labour leads, Rosehill will succeed. When Labour leads, Mainers will succeed. When Labour leads, Bajans succeed, Mr. Speaker. That is what we are about. That is what this resolution before this Honourable Chamber today is about. Making sure that Bajans can succeed. Making sure that Bajans' lives can be improved so that they have a better feel for themselves, about themselves, so that they can have something to pass on to those who come after them. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to be able to support this resolution. In St. Peter, we see the evidence, the real evidence of the hard work of the Ministry of Housing and the National Housing Corporation. It is evident. I spoke to you about 3 different locations in St. Peter, and we are happy, and me as MP, I am happy on behalf of the people of St. Peter who are benefiting from the work of the Ministry of Housing, happy to support this resolution. And we expect and we call on the member for St. Michael West to continue the good work. The good work, he's had 2 predecessors, continue the good work, continue to build on what they've done so that we can be sure, he's had 3 predecessors, so that he can be sure that he will be fully a part of improving the lives of people in this country. Now, 3 predecessors, because I will not sit without recognizing his first predecessor. In the heavy rains of the middle of November, the canal in Speightstown flowed like a mighty river. That canal flowed well, without causing any flooding in Church Street, Roundy Town, Gills Terrace, Queen Street, Goddins Alley, Chapel Street. No flooding in any of those areas because of that canal, which was part of the drainage plan. The reason we were able to do that, Mr. Speaker, is because one of his predecessors, a former honourable member for St. Andrew, worked with me to make sure that we were able to acquire the lands next to the original small canal. Worked to make sure we were able to do that. And then he was followed by the honourable member for Christchurch West. I think it was completed maybe in his tenure. But that is how the Ministry of Housing has worked. And these attempts to poo-poo and denigrate the work of the Ministry of Housing is not to be accepted only because it is not true. And so we support from St. Peter, and I support as Member of Parliament sent here by the people of St. Peter, this resolution. We support all the work of the Ministry of Housing. We support all the work of all the entities that fall under the Ministry of Housing, because we recognize that the work speaks to their view that Barbadians must be housed, and that they must be properly housed, clean title, good access, good quality of life. Mr. Speaker, I'm obliged to you.
Honourable Member Sir Michael West.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank the 2 honourable members that spoke on these resolutions, and they both illustrated the ways in which this Barbados Labour Party government, through the Ministry of Housing, has empowered and continues to empower our citizens, whether it be through the Tenantry Freehold Purchase Act, as the Honourable Member from St. Peter so passionately said in his intervention, in empowering the lives of, through that 6 Men's Life Improvement Project. As the Honourable Member from Christchurch West said, that he feels a warm heart that the people of Christchurch West will be able to access affordable housing as facilitated with these resolutions. Mr. Speaker, consider me naive, but when I first started this debate, I know the Honourable Prime Minister warned me that the Honourable Leader of the Opposition would probably go far and wide in the debate. But sir, I figured that since the Honourable Leader of the Opposition is the representative of a Christchurch constituency, that he would have found somewhere in his heart to feel good that the people of Christchurch would have 20 additions of housing units. I was real naive, yes, Honourable Member. I thought so. But then, as the Prime Minister warned me, he went wide. And he talked about Pool St. John. But I have this to tell him, Mr. Speaker. I'm sorry to say to him that when that project starts back, that he probably will not be in this chamber. And that the Honourable Member from St. John will have the pleasure and the honor to open that development. Sir, and I will indulge him on the off stump for a second here. And when he tries to conflate hope with these resolutions, he talking foolishness there as well. Because you heard, well, sorry, Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Member misspoke in that the Honourable Member from Christchurch West said that the Housing Credit Fund is being repaid to the tune of $8 million odd. I can give you the exact figure right now. $8,148,147.91, sir, and continues to repay the fund. Right now, Hope is being fiscally responsible and living within that entity's means. So if you have a development of 80 houses, you break it up into 4 phases. If the first phase is 20 houses, you build those houses, you get the mortgages in, get that money in, and that will fuel the next 20, the next phase. And as the money comes in, you repay the housing credit fund, sir. This is what a responsible entity does. And as we continue to empower Barbadians, it is obvious to me that the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, has also been empowered by this party with a seat. So he should know that this Barbados Labour Party-led government is a serious party of empowerment. And I am proud to be a part of that, sir. So I will not belabor the House much longer, but to say that I am proud to bring these resolutions to this House so that families can move in by the end of the month or right after. And that is something that drives us. It takes us to the next stop to continue to build and build housing developments so that our citizens can benefit. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that these 2 resolutions, I am pleased that the honourable members have spoke earlier and have supported them. And I now move that these two resolutions do pass.
No, Honourable Member, you have to do them one at a time, Honourable Member. So you have to move the first number 8, which the number
Yes,
8,
yes, Mr. Speaker.
in the order paper.
I move that order number 8 do pass.
The question is that land resolution under order number 8 do pass. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Meeting, the ayes have it. This resolution stands passed.
Order number 7, sir. In the name of the Honourable Minister of Housing, Lands and Maintenance, to move the passing of a resolution to approve, in accordance with Section 5 of the Crown Lands Vesting and Disposal Act, Cap 225, the vesting in the National Housing Corporation of a parcel of land, the property of the state, situate at Sergeant's Village in the parish of Christchurch in this island for housing development.
Honourable Member for St. Michael West.
Order number 7 do pass.
The question is that order number 7 do not pass. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Meeting, the ayes have it. This resolution stands passed.
You committal of papers, sir.
Honourable Member for St. Philip West.
Mr. Speaker, I'm commanded to lay the Barbados Economic Recovery and Transformation Plan 2026.
Revert to government business.
Honourable Leader, Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With that, we have come to the end of today's sitting. I therefore beg to move the adjournment of the House until Tuesday, the 20th of January at 10 a.m.
The question is that this honourable chamber be adjourned until Tuesday, the 20th of January 2026 at 10 a.m. in the forenoon. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Meeting, the ayes have it. This honourable chamber stands adjourned until Tuesday, the 20th day of January 2026 at 10 a.m. in the forenoon.